Hello, Soma Eastside Church. Welcome to this episode of Eastside Conversations. And we today have invited in a couple of guests from Eastside Community School. And they are involved in a fundraising project, and we are inviting the church to be a part. As all of you know, we have been taking steps forward to working with Eastside Community School in sharing space and working together to be a blessing to the community in our particular spheres. And as they are looking to fundraise to purchase this building, they are inviting the community as a whole to help them and to invest in this project. And this is an amazing opportunity. And I wanted to not only invite a couple of representatives from the school, but also wanted to invite Chad Eder, our Director of Finance for Soma Eastside Church, and talk to us a little bit about this particular exciting opportunity that we have. Chad?
Hi, Paul. Thank you for having me today. This is really an exciting time, I think, in Soma Eastside Church. I know that for the last several months, we've been talking about this specific opportunity, but for the past 12 years, you and I have been talking about how do we find a more permanent space that will meet our needs. And we're at I think at a point where we're very close to seeing that become a reality. So, after a year and a half of kind of a tough go at things, we're now in a spot where I think the future is bright and something we can really be excited for. I'm grateful to be a part of this, mostly from the financial end of things, for a number of reasons, but one of them is that I've been through this specific scenario before. I got to have the opportunity where I was the financial lead of a private school, a little larger than Eastside Community, but very similar, where we had a church leasing from us. And so that was, it worked out very well. And I'm looking forward to helping us negotiate through that same scenario here. Further, we're going to hear, I think, briefly in a minute from Griff and from Dan about the opportunity. And I have been through that specific type of financing opportunity and can tell you firsthand that it's a successful one. And I know the people at the organization that's involved, and we love them. And I think this is going to be a really good opportunity for all parties involved. So I think with that, I'm going to turn it over to Griff or Dan. I'm not sure who's going to go first, but we look forward to hearing from you now.
Hello, Soma Eastside Church. My name is Dan Holsclaw. I'm the treasurer over at Eastside Community School. And before we get going on the particulars of the opportunity, first of all, I wanted to just say what we've enjoyed the process of getting to know your community a little bit, some of the leadership there, and it's become very apparent to us that we are both kind of in the same spot where we're looking for some permanency in our home. I know you've been looking for a home for a while, and so have we. So we're excited about the opportunity to share a space and to make that space really efficiently used day in and day out. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Griff, and Griff's actually going to walk through a little bit about the financial offering that we're taking a look at as we partner.
Thank you, Dan. My name is Griff Owen. I'm the president of Eastside Community School, and this is an exciting opportunity we have. The property, as you know, is a former church, has lots of space for classrooms and a big open hall or worship space too for you guys. And so what we're doing is we're putting together an investment into our space, and that's in the form of several different inputs. Some of them are donations, some of them are loans or investment, as we call it. That's a symbol platform that I'm going to talk about in a moment. But we've also gotten a partnership with a Rudolph Steiner Foundation. They go by RSF Social Finance. Our goal is to raise $9.5 million, which covers the purchase price of the property, but it also covers incidentals and fees and things like that, plus an improvement budget. Substantially, the building is turnkey. You can move in and occupy it immediately. We've currently raised $5.2 million across this thing, so you can see where we are right now. Quickly about Rudolf Steiner Foundation. They came in and we talked to them, started a month or two ago, and they came in and evaluated what we're doing and our finances and everything else, and realized that they could come in and actually make a substantial difference. And one of the nice things about that actually is that for several of our investors, it has given them a lot of confidence in the fact that they came in and they're like a bank or a financial institution, and they provide covenants and oversight to the process for everybody, mostly to protect their own investment, but it helps everybody become more confident in what we're doing here. These loans, which I'll explain what SEMBL is. SEMBL is essentially a way of managing those loans, but the ultimate investment here is that people would loan money. So people loan money to the school under a very specific structure. We have offered up to a 5% interest rate for a 5-year term on these loans. So any money that gets put into this goes towards purchase of the property, and you're paid a monthly interest rate based on whatever interest that you choose. Minimum investment is $50,000, and that's a choice that we had to make in order to keep within securities regulations and things like that, sort of a balance point. All of the people who loan into this program through SEMBL will be put together into an LLC. They'll each have a basis in an LLC that is a part owner of the property. So it's secured by the property itself. And all of our financial information that, if you're interested, the link will be at the bottom here, the next slide. But all of our financial information, our historic budgets that for our school and everything are placed there so that the investor or the lender can make an informed decision. Really quickly, SEMBL is a company based in Bellevue that essentially helps nonprofits manage and administer these types of investments in construction or in purchasing of property, etc. And what they do is they help. They don't manage any of the money. They don't touch any of the money. All they are there is to help us file with the federal government and the securities, and to manage payments of these interest payments. And anytime that there's a principal pay down, etc., they help with a whole process for us. So they help us market and manage the process. And they also are the ones that form the LLC and get all of the lenders in. And since they have so much experience in this, we really thought this was a very wonderful partnership for us. So there's the link for the SEMBL site that ECS has with all of our information and a little bit about our school. And I think in most cases, we've gotten very few questions outside of that, at least about the general concept. To get started, you can just get in there and register, and you put in a commitment at this point. You don't have to commit the money, and you pledge the money that you will at closing, which is at the end of June, be able to put the money in. So that gives you time, to convert assets or to decide what whether you want to put more in, as some of our people have done. There's also another option through the SEMBL platform, which I just want to mention, which is that you can do self-directed IRA funds to invest, to loan into this project. And then those proceeds, the interest that you receive from that, are taxed at your IRA, which is generally tax-free. That has to be a specific type of IRA, self-directed IRA, that works with the SEMBL platform. So we would ask you to go to Todd, who's the founder of Symbol, and talk to him. He's very knowledgeable about how to do that. Several of our already people that are part of our community that are investing are following that. I've talked to him and are working on that. More questions, if you have direct questions about this, give Dan or I an email at fundraising@eastsidecommunityschool.org. That goes to both of us then. And yeah, we look forward to working with Soma on this. This is a fantastic opportunity for both of us to get a home. So thank you.
Well, thank you, Griff. I think I appreciate how you have presented that. I went through the exact same campaign with Symbol, and we had a very good, very positive experience. And I was actually the financial lead during that, and so I kind of know what you've had to go through. Usually this would be like a live audience type of presentation, but for now, this is what is working best. And so, but I'm going to try to represent maybe some questions that some people might have had if this was a live audience. And you said a lot of neat things. And one thing I would say ahead of time, like point out up front, is that, correct me if I'm wrong, but really, for us to be successful in being able to lease the property, you first have to actually obtain the property. And so here's an opportunity for Soma Eastside to really help ourselves out by helping you first get the property. Does that sound about right? Yeah, good. So a question that might come up is a little bit about the safety. So, so I have $100,000 in my retirement plan or my IRA that I would love to invest, and I would choose an interest rate of between 0 and 5%. Perhaps I would choose 3%. That's more than I'm getting at my bank. And I invest $100,000 with you. I'm curious about the safety in that. And so maybe you could talk a little bit about how, what secures that investment.
Go ahead, Dan. This seems like your thing.
Yeah. So the property itself, prime property right in the middle of Issaquah, is the collateral for the entire loan. So that's what so the members of the LLC would have a security interest, a first right security interest in that property. So that should give investors a level of comfort that there's real assets that are backing up these loans, essentially.
Yeah, that's great. So, of course, we imagine it would never happen, but in the off chance that the school is no longer here in the near-term future, what would that look like? And us be able to get my investment back?
Yeah, that's a great question. First of all, at Eastside Community School, we have a rigorous process and operating process. We think that stewardship of finances is equally as important as a component of how we teach our students as well. Just to manage your resources in life is a good thing. So we have measures in place so that the worst doesn't happen. But let's pretend that the worst did happen. The worst did happen, and the school was unable to continue to make its mortgage payments. Or its debt payments. What would happen then is that the property would have to be marketed and sold, and then the proceeds of the property would pay off all of the principal that was loaned to get the property.
Great, thank you. You talked about your financial reports. You said there's a link there on the screen that we can click. Any chance that includes any sort of forecast? Do we know, have we talked about, our growth rate and what that means from like a quote unquote profitability standpoint?
Yeah, that's a great question. We've provided, if you go out into the Symbol platform, you'll see that we provided our last 3 years of historical financials, including our tax returns that we filed on time with the IRS. So that gives you a sense of, what's led us from the start of our organization to now. And then we've also provided a 5-year forecast on what we anticipate. It helps you understand how we look at the operations of the school from a financial perspective as well.
Great. So 5 years doesn't seem like a very long time. That seems like a reasonable expectation to get my money back. But if I do invest and for some reason I think I do need that money back, is there an opportunity to sell my investment?
That's a great question. Underneath this platform, as a member of the LLC, there is not an opportunity to sell your investment in 3 years or 2 years or prior to the 5-year time. However, you could use that fundraising fundraising link that we sent earlier. If there is a hardship, you could feel free to request the school directly whether there was an opportunity to receive your funds back, and we could talk about that, although there are no guarantees. So
Yeah, that makes sense. I think the rates of return that you're offering is very strong. Particularly, right now, if I have money sitting around that's not necessarily making a high rate of return, here's an opportunity to help you help our church, and so I really appreciate that we can choose the interest rate. And so, do you have people that are actually lending at 0%?
yeah, that's a great question, Chad. And just to say, it's kind of an exciting thing for us as well, because when we started this initiative, we realized we had to pay somebody an interest rate, a return on this debt. We weren't able to organically raise $9.5 million in pure donations. So we all looked at ourselves as a board and said, well, we can either pay a bank or we can pay people inside of our community, and those are we're going to share the space with. So we're excited to route interest payments over to people that we know. Yes, to answer your question, we have had a couple of our loaners that have decided to take a 0% interest. I believe at the moment our blended interest rate's 3.98%. So some folks have chosen 5% and some have chosen less than 5%. So.
Great. That's exciting. I think my last question would just be about the ability to use my IRA. I might have a substantial amount of money in my IRA and would love to loan some of that to you, especially if I can get an average rate of 3.98%. So is this a distribution from my IRA? Am I going to be taxed when I loan this money to you?
That's a great question. So the way it's set, first of all, we'd want to let you know that you'd have to set up an IRA that works well with the Symbol platform. So your existing IRA, you may have to set up an account if your existing IRA is not in a platform that works with Symbol, like Fidelity Investments or T. Rowe Price or whoever you're going through. You would have to set up an IRA with a Symbol-friendly platform, then transfer some money out of your existing IRA into that one. And then you would notice that you would have ECS Property Fund LLC as an investment alternative for you. In terms of the tax, it depends on the style of IRA. So if it is a Roth IRA, I believe that is tax-free, the proceeds, since the initial funds committed to that IRA were post-tax funds. If it's a traditional IRA, I believe that you are in fact going to see a taxable component of that. However, before I overspeak myself too much, I would definitely recommend talking to Todd over at Symbol, whose contact information we provided, because Todd's a bit more of an expert on this and has actually walked many investors through this process.
Thanks. I kind of presented that as someone who might be from the audience be asking. I have quite a bit of experience with self-directed IRAs myself, and so if anyone's watching, and I know Todd personally, and fantastic. If somebody wants to hit me up, I can answer some of those questions also. I think that's all I had. Paul, did you have some further questions?
Yeah, maybe in the way of just summarizing it as far as I understand it, and then asking a question. We have an opportunity as a church to partner with a school and to help them purchase a building. And that would not only help the school, it would really help us as a church, because then we would have effectively a building to share. And there are so many opportunities. And as Griff talked about it at the beginning, this really has been a developing friendship. And we see a lot of common goals. Both organizations exist to be a blessing to the community. And it's different spheres. One's training children, and one is has a church mission for sure. But there's so many areas of overlap and opportunities to work together. So I think it's a great opportunity to help an organization that we can support with a clear conscience. And to me, what's exciting about this is they're not asking us to donate money. Although if one of us felt like we should donate, I wouldn't dissuade you from that at all. It's a great school. I really love the school, the way it operates. But what they're asking us is to give them a loan. And then we get paid back interest monthly. And then at the end, we get the money we invested back after 5 years. So it's a great opportunity. It seems like a win-win. It seems like because of Symbol, the organization that is helping set up this LLC, it's not complicated. So my question is, why do people not invest in things like this? What stops them? Is it largely they just don't understand how it works? What seems to be the roadblock for most people that would have 50,000 that choose not to invest in something like this?
From my experience in our community, I have a whole range of questions, which most of them we've answered in some way or shape right now. But when people have been hesitant or decided to say no, it's because they have a perception, for instance, that they can make a lot more money in the markets right now, which the markets have been doing rather well. But as we all know, those are not secured by a piece of property or anything else. But they are convinced of that. That's fine. And there's also been there's been a lot of questions around, and I've gotten around most of these, with which they don't understand the concept of loaning the school money and how that exactly works. And so I've had to work with a lot of people. Those are sort of the two, and most of those invest. And then there's also the group of people, and I'll just go beyond your question. There's also a group of people who have donated and also loaned to the Symbol platform as essentially a tax diversification mechanism. So that's also something that several people have done, actually. So yeah, I mean, the hesitancy around it is whether is understanding the loan, and then what guarantees that they aren't going to lose their nest egg or whatever it is. So I think in this particular circumstance, we have a very strong collateralization. That piece of property in Issaquah is going to do nothing but appreciate. So I don't think no matter what goes on with the housing market in general, because it's one of the few pieces of property of that size in the area there.
Okay. So generally speaking, from my perspective, it seems like a solid investment, and one that is that's going to give a good rate of return, even if it doesn't quadruple your money like Dogecoin might. So that is not a pastoral recommendation to buy Dogecoin. I just want to make that clear. All right. Well, is there anything else that the congregation should know? Chad, Griff, or Dan?
No, I think we've covered it.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, gentlemen. I appreciate you guys speaking into this. Chad at somacommunities.org. Soma Eastside, if you have questions about this. Paul at somaeastside.org. We will also be listing on this video links to Symbol, links to Dan and Griff if you have questions about the school. And as we communicate this, we'll continue to get the communication information out. But just as default, Soma Eastside, if you have any questions, Chad at somacommunities.org or Paul at somaeastside.org, and we will forward those questions along. But would love for everyone listening to ask a couple questions. One is, do I have at least 50,000 that I can invest? And two, would you, I guess then the second question is, would you please consider investing in this school? Because I think it's a really solid way. It's a solid win-win for the school, for the church, and for you to consider this. So please consider giving. Just take some time, talk with your spouse, talk with a financial advisor, talk with one of us, but please consider this a strong endorsement from Chad and I. All right, thanks for tuning in. This has been a Soma Eastside conversation, and we're glad you took the time to listen to this proposal. Have a good day.